Vanishing Point, a novel by Keith A. Kenel, 26 of 101. Part 26. Having spotted Hot Mama waiting at the bike rack, Caleb alternated his gaze, focusing on her for a pleasurable 6 heartbeats, and then scanning left and right with his field glasses for the same 10 seconds. Caleb liked looking at Hot Mama, and he liked fantasizing about what he'd do to her and her little girl. But Caleb knew the importance of spreading his focus between his surroundings and his prey. Won't do me a lick of good if the po-po comes sniffing around because some kid stumbled across me and hightailed it home to tell his mommy about the boogeyman in the swamp, he mumbled to himself. Caleb's sniper's nest provided an unobstructed view of the entire street side of Interlochen Elementary, but the church restricted his sightline to only the far northeast and southwest corners of St. Peter the Apostle's parking lot. The church, like the school, was new construction, and the parking lot held 6 dozen paved spaces, along with 3 times as many grass ones. The southwest spaces, being closest to the school, were the most desirable, and Caleb could see a dozen cars in these coveted spots. Caleb hadn't given much thought to the outbuilding in the back of the church when selecting his observation point, because it was far outside his sight lane to Interlochen. Angered at his lack of foresight, Caleb reprimanded himself. Should have thought of that, stupid. Caleb could tell that Hot Mama's spawn was late. Not only was Hot Mama showing agitation, looking at her watch, shaking her head, and forcefully exhaling, but the once overflowing bike rack was depleted to 10% of capacity. One by one, mommies and daddies had ridden or walked up to the rack, found little Dick or Jane, and hightailed it out of Dodge. Hot Mama was all alone by the bike rack, looking hot in both senses of the word in her little white mini dress. The view of Hot Mama in the mini dress was more than compelling. Caleb's Nikon Monarch 7 binoculars were some of the most powerful available. To get field glasses with more zoom, he'd have had to buy digital ones, a choice he decided against. If Caleb was caught out in the wild with his Nikon, he'd tell folks he was bird watching, hence his Pedersen field guide. But if he got caught toting $2,000 Canons, a cop might get suspicious. His Nikon didn't do great in low light, but out here under the bright as can be Florida sun, he had a great close-up view of Hot Mama in that tight little dress. A view so good that he could tell from where he sat that she wasn't wearing any panties. The better to fuck you with, my dear, he said in a gruff, big bad wolf voice. Caleb didn't allow the pleasure of watching Hot Mama distract him from the hunt. The plan called for him to observe where Hot Mama went with her spawn, so he would know where to follow. Caleb knew that mother and daughter had to live close by, and he knew that they, like nearly all the walkers and riders, came from the west. Long after yesterday's daylight observations, Caleb had driven his silver panel van through the neighborhoods to the west of Interlochen. Security gates blocked entry to most of the neighborhoods, but gaining access was as simple as good timing. Caleb had driven back and forth twice from the nearby public store, both times following cars that headed south on Community Drive rather than east or west on State Road 54, and had simply piggybacked on their entry through the unmanned gates. To avoid drawing unwanted attention, Caleb had limited himself to 2 trips. The stolen tag that Caleb had placed on his van provided some protection against detection, but Caleb knew, just as the pencil-pushing gym teacher had stated, that the area was full of security cameras. Caleb had gained access to the Preserve at Trinity and Trinity East, 2 close-by upper-middle-class gated communities. He'd rolled down Robert Trent Parkway, contentedly smoking his Marlboros, to a gate that blocked access to a 55 and older community, and backtracked to Hidden Hall Place and Longstone Court. Imperial Key, Mountain Spring Place, and Crestridge Loop had followed. The GPS on Caleb's phone led him to every street in Trinity Preserve, including Eagle Chase, Longview, and Victara. Caleb snorted, remembering his derisive laughter when he'd read the name Mountain Spring Place. Right, he said now, like some reclaimed Florida swampland's gonna have a mountain spring. Assholes. Trinity East had proved the smaller of the 2 neighborhoods, and Caleb had driven down Ketzel Drive, Solala Way, Jalapa Way, and Maza Place before coming to the neighborhood's terminus and retreating back up Ketzel to its intersection with Interlochen. Caleb hadn't expected to see Hot Mama or her spawn on his reconnoiter. Rather, the goal was to get a first-hand view of what he'd hoped would be the surroundings for his soon-to-be playground.